sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay, right.
Okay. So, dear participants, we had already made an introduction about Shankar sir earlier, and we had a great presentation earlier also. And now we have the presentation for second part of Shankar sir's. I hope you enjoyed the first part actually, because sir has been a great motivator as well as a great speaker too. So now I request all the participants to join me to introduce, to join me to start our presentation and welcome our today's presenter, Professor S. Shankar sir. Thank you everyone. Sir, stage is all yours, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. First of all, I thought it was recorded in the mind as 6:30. So you were just attending your meeting and rushing through. Sorry, I'm late. Anyhow, thank you for the introducing me to the audience today. So once again, please don't mind otherwise. It is a second lecture. Hope that I'll not make you a boring or sleeping on online. But I'll try to share. This topic is concerned. This is my also research area. I'll try to share. The topic is given to me is a smart payment evaluation through automation for enhanced maintenance planning. So I don't know how many. Is there any what you call? Is our only faculty, right? Naidu, only faculty members.
Sir, some PhD scholars are also there, sir.
Achha, some PhD scholars also there. Okay,
Yes.
right. Okay, anyhow. Is there any scholar who's working in the area of payment evaluation currently who's attending? So, okay, anyhow. But again, my experience, I'll tell you. Corona has given a opportunity of online, but Corona also has given some negatives also. But strictly speaking, I don't like of online lecture actually. I'm sorry. Speaking face to face, sharing in a face to face with you in a classroom is different from a talking to the screen, which is a lifeless screen. And I need to talk 1.5 hours of these things. But still, we are habited to do this. I'll do my job. I'll keep you engaged in that way. So in between, you have any questions, you can please feel free to ask me. Okay. So, sir, I have planned this lecture in this way, mostly about the background of this topic, as well as the what is the purpose of the payment evaluation, why we need to a payment evaluation, and what is the payment evaluation, what is automation that is running today, or the conventional way of these things, and what is the payment maintenance, and what are the some strategies, some of the good practices, what is that we do, what's supposed to be done, where are we lacking behind, again how this automation has helped us in getting the data, analyzing these things, and followed with summary and discussion. Let me begin. Just give me a thought process to you. Can we compare the patient versus the payment? So is there any thought process for anyone? How can we compare the patient versus the payment? Is there any quality indicator, anything? Can somebody help me? Sir, I humbly request some of you, please say yes or no or something, so that I'll be happy that I'm talking to all of you. Don't mind otherwise. Yeah. Any comparison that you come across, sir? Any one of you? All are muted. Oh, fatigue. Yes, sir. Fatigue. Okay. Okay. Somebody is messaging there's some fatigue in these things. Anyhow, you can see here. So I tell to my student in this way. Whenever I go to tell them this topic, I'll tell them for easy of understanding and other things for us also. So the patient versus the payment. Whereas the patient is a physical structure like you and me. whereas your pavement is in a pavement structure which controls the multiple layers. Okay. And the physical structure of human beings deteriorated due to the lack of the care, lack of the work, lack of the sleep, lack of the food, lack of all these things. It deteriorates due to the lack of the care. This care indicates a different kind of parameters. Whereas my pavement deteriorates due to the lack of timely maintenance as well as the traffic loading. It is not only simply a traffic loading, it is a, I can say, overloading up to some extent. So when there is a lack of care, what happens to you is either you get a sick, either you get an ill. And whereas in the payment, if it is health is deteriorated because the lack of the maintenance and traffic loading, it shows the sign of the deterioration in the form of initiation of different cracks. I'm talking about the flexible payment. So those flexible payment deterioration, we call it in terms of the modes of distresses. So-called, we have all of us know that fatigue cracking, rutting, pothole, patching, longitudinal crosswork, longitudinal black tracking, shoving, or whatever the. So it shows in the form of a distress. So when you get an ill, your body, typhoid, dengue, other things, you need to visit a doctor. For payment engineer, for payment doesn't have any choice. It has to she visit like you and me, payment engineer, and doctor check for all the clues, and he assess the and classes the illness and try to give the what is your medication that is required. So what I wanted to say is that when you go to the hospital first time also, when you say that I'm getting in a stomach pain, I'm getting in a headache from the yesterday itself, then the doctor will ask, sir, what did you eat yesterday? What did you took yesterday? Where did you go? And all those things. And he will try to prescribe some medicine. Sometimes there's no guarantee that that medicine will work. And you may get severe, sometimes you may get normal. But cases are there, not 100%. Again, you visit a doctor, he will try to give again change of the medication. Okay, that's the routine things happens. Here also, we use a tools called an FWD, that's called a falling weight deflectometer, or you call as a Benkelman beam method, or you call it a DCP, or you call it any technology. Try to check for why it is caused, then try to find out what are the initiation of cracking, initial distresses. Try to find out what type of the maintenance or what type of a treatment, what type of rehabilitation strategy, or what type of design strategy to be adopted. So, to the best of my knowledge, today, country like India, I can say, at least my experience, don't think otherwise. For all kind of a road maintenance, damages, there is only one treatment. Like a corona during somebody said, nothing has happened, what will use a paracetamol, it will go. Likewise, if a road also there is a one paracetamol. Can anybody tell what is that? Any idea? Like a paracetamol treatment to the human being, like we have a one treatment like that to the road. In terms of maintenance, in the rehabilitation, design, all those things. Normally, which we think in India, patchwork. Okay, sir. Patchwork, somebody said. Repatching, somebody said. PPT, hole repair, somebody said. Pothole repair, somebody said. Any other answer, sir? I have any answer. My answer is nothing like that. Go for an overlay. Go for an overlay. That is the strategy that has been adopted. Patch is there, crack is there, rutting is there, shoving is there, stripping is there, traveling is there. We were not worried for each type of distance, but rather than we say that do one thing, remove everything, put in an overlay. Is it really required? Don't know. Entire stretch is required? Don't know. Even if it's required entire stretch, are you trying to give the right material, right thickness? Even if you are giving, all this diagnosis are based upon any scientific evaluation. No, again, no. It is purely again on the anarchism only. So with this background, let me move further. Now look at these photographs. So these are the two national highways. Can anybody tell me what is the problem? Of course, everybody knows this is the problem. I have a problem of rutting. So is it a mixed rutting or is it in a subgrade rutting? It means it is a mixed rutting or it is in a structural rutting that we need to determine. This is one of the problem that we are facing. Now, what is the problem in this picture? Can anybody tell? What is the problem in this photograph? Do you come across any issue? Anyone? Do you see really any problem there as a payment engineer? If you are going to the site and the photo is in front of you in the road, new layer, sir, it is not a new layer, sir. I agree. Okay. Heavy vehicle load, same rutting, channel traffic. No, no, sir. Channel traffic is okay. Washed out layer, it's not washed out layer, sir. Washed out layer means entire should go. Drainage, drainage issue is there. I agree. Drainage issue is there, but I'm looking for something specific term. It is this complete area is too much polished, stone polished, completely became very smooth. Because I was there, I was put. This is the near to the NH7, near to the toll plaza. Too much of became very smooth. Entire aggregate. There's no bitumen. You can see whitish. Too much polished. When I'm trying to put my leg now and little of water, it getting a slippery. So too much polished. Now what is can be done? Suppose let us say in this case, definitely I need to examine whether it is a mixed rutting, whether it is in a subgrade rutting, whether it is a granular layer rutting, make a FWD, do the pit excavation, do the granular layers, and all those things, and try to make this so that whether it is a mixed rutting or whether it is in a subgrade rutting, that tools are required. But even there, what happens is sometimes we need to also visually we can see that by looking at the visual, if your deflection bowl is too large, it means it is a bulging like this. It is too much bulging. I can say that by visual inspection it is in a subgrade rutting. But in this case, I could see you are not that much of too much of white, but little. So I feel that it is in a mixed rutting. Okay, but somewhere it is in a subgrade rutting. But whereas this required a different kind of treatment, this is required a different kind of a treatment. Here, simply what I can do is I can make a thin application of film of one layer in the form of microsurfacing or in the form of a chip seal or in the form of some film of layer. I can excellently improve the riding quality and texture, skid resistance, all those properties. But again, we don't have that kind of a still mechanism that we have been adopting. Okay. So, sir, to address this, to determine this, what exactly the problem? So we all know that 79 years of independence till today, India is developing country, and we are unfortunate. We don't have any dedicated like in a database in the country today as the payment management system is concerned. But if you look at the developed countries, sir, they call it DOTs, Department of Transportations. Each DOTs has got their own department and own data sets of their state roads, motor or country roads, or rural roads, or urban roads, arterial. They have got an excellent database. What do you mean by database? Database is nothing but, sir, payment management system will deals about these certain coordinated activities. These coordinated activities are planning activities, design activity. Once you design, construct. Once you construct, you have to maintain. Once you have to maintain, you have to evaluate. Once you have to evaluate, you have to get the data. Once you get the data, you get a feedback, then research and go back. So this is a continuous cycle, I can say. Planning activity, design activity, construction activity, maintenance activity, evaluation activity, research activity, database, and finally you go for a feedback. Unfortunately, country like India, we have a lot of resources, but somebody tried a new technology in the state of Bihar, in the state of Uttar Pradesh, in the state of Uttarakhand, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Some engineer wanted to adopt it in the state of Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka or Telangana. He starts again from scratch. Why? Some X technology, some X things have been used in the nearby state. They have monitored the performance, performing well. Let me get the results of those things. Let me also be, maybe it's only a geographical transferability. But that kind of a facility, that kind of a freedom, still it is not there in the country today. That is a one lacuna. So sir, to ascertain these causes, make some suitable maintenance management strategies. We have to go for a principles of payment evaluation. And what payment evaluation? I say that if somebody asks you, it is my own definition, sir. It is a process to determine the state of the art of the health condition. Please underline the letter. State of the art of the health condition of the payment. Once determine the state of the art of the health condition of the payment for for what purpose? The purpose is road user safety, road user certification. You have to keep that one. You have to maintain. Why are you maintaining? By maintaining, I can try to extend the life of the payment. So this is the whole story or whole philosophy. What exactly the payment evaluation? Payment evaluation is nothing but a determining the state of the art of the health condition of the given payment structure or given payment network. Once the state of that the payment condition is evolved or determined, you need to be planned for a maintenance. That maintenance will try to extend the life of the payment. So this is what most of the job that we have to do as a payment evaluation is concerned. So I'm trying to say this. Look at this. Somebody was traveling in the initial traveling. Yeah, this is in a rural road. Mostly it is in a traveling area. So you're all aware, on the rural road in the country right now, we are adopting a 20 millimeter of OGPC, that is open graded premix carpet. Since these roads are carrying a very low traffic of commercial vehicles, less than 3 tons, hardly 1 or 2 trucks. So OGPC serves the purpose, but it deteriorates like this. So what is to be done? How it's to be improved? But when you make an investigation, how do you proceed for the investigation? So let us say this case, you wanted to know why this has happened like this. You wanted to say that what is the reason? You have to find out the root cause. Then, sir, as an engineer, as a researcher, you definitely need to ask these questions yourself or myself. If at all going there, how and against what criteria that you need to be evaluated? That says that how is the payment performing? If the payment is performing, but is okay. If the payment is not performing, what is the materials and their conditions? They need to be evaluated. Second question, definitely I'm telling you, are there surprises? Yes. When you take out the core, your core says something, but in the field is something. Or in the field is something, your design says something. Huge gap. So because of this, what are the problems below? And also most important third question is definitely the question is, are we trying to address the real problem? It means that I wanted to bring the entire road network into the user certification. Then what are the best M&R maintenance and rehabilitation action for a true condition? For a true condition. For a true condition. Please excuse me, please. True conditions, best M&R actions for the true conditions. Then, if you say that best M&R action for the true conditions, can we afford the best fix now and how? Sir, can we afford the best fix now and how? First of all, you should know, I should know, engineer should know what is the best fix. If at all you want to fix it, how to fix it? If we can answer these questions, definitely in the investigation of payment failure or forensic investigation, I can say that you can determine what is the root cause, and for the root cause, you can give the solution of these things. So, sir, to answer all these questions, we have a certain procedures. We have a certain methods. Those methods, everybody, all of you knows who are involved in the research or teaching at the UG level or research level. Basically, we have certain methods. These are the broadly across the globe, wherever you go, mostly you find this. That is, payment evaluation is the two parts. One is the functional evaluation as I listed here. Second one is the structural evaluation. So in the functional evaluation, I am more interested about the work, only the riding quality. Whereas in my structural evaluation, I am interested about the deflections. Or I can say go for a overlay design. So to ascertain this functional structure evaluations there are certain methods. These methods are, which was 1952, 1956, long back, or even before. A method which is called a present serviceability index, measuring payment roughness, measuring the skidness. This talks about the only functional quality of the third. In fact, there is a third category also. The third category normally people in some of the textbook and research contents is that safety evaluation. Safety evaluation. But what I feel is safety evaluation is an integral part of the functional evaluation only. The most second important is the structure evaluation. Within the structure evaluation, destructive testing, non-destructive testing. Today, unfortunately, nobody wants this. Nobody wants an open heart surgery. Nobody wants a digging. Nobody wants a cut and open and see. Everybody wants non-destructive. Sir, even I don't want to use a tape. Have a torchlight, stand here, give the ray or a laser, measure. This there, the technology is there. So in the non-destructive, we have a static creep deflection method, steady state deflection method, wave propagations, impulse loading. Now we have added a fancy words as you everybody using is AI, ML, deep learning, drone, GPR, LiDAR. All these technologies are there today. Sky is the limit for us, which is to be used. Okay, so I are not added those things, sir. This is the thing. So let me move further. As I said, in the functional evaluation, one is interested about the surface characteristics, longitudinal evenness, skid resistance, interventions, and decide the based upon these severity. If you have a good experience, you can define what is the intervention that is type of the maintenance that is needed. Whereas in the structural evaluation, we can see all layer thickness, material properties, strength and load related rhythm. Then based upon this, it means we try to determine what is RSL, remaining service life of the payment. Based upon the remaining service life, we can decide what type of rehabilitation or strengthening of the payment is required. Sir, here I have one question. Normal common people have a misunderstanding that imagine that you have designed a highway or you have constructed a road. That is, the design life is one road, a design life is 10 years. Other road design life is 20 years. Now, at the end of the design life, what is it you are going to do? Let us say you are normally, we say as a civil engineers, building is designed for 100 years. Usually, normally 100 years. What will you do after 100 years? We dismantle this, or will make a complete, dismantle. That's it. Means no. In the case of road, after 10 years or 20 years, what will you do, sir? Any answer from anyone? What will you do after 10 years? Or after, let us say, rural road 10 years, 20 years, these things. What is the practice that has been followed usually? Yes, sir, I appreciate you. Subramanian. Yes, sir, right. I was expecting other answer. Somebody said reconstruction. No. Yes, sir. There is no question of the reconstruction. There is no question of a new construction. It is only strengthening of the payment layers. Maybe the top layer might have fatigued. The top layer might have reached the performance criteria, but nothing wrong. Your granular layers, your other layers might have been still intact. You can strengthen that, and you can make the further payment to make use of these things. So how you are going to do that? You're all aware, best, cheapest method for a CPWD, PWD, Panchayat Raj and department like in a small where the budget is limitation is there, where the manpower also is very limited. We have gotten a diploma, assistant engineers, or a fair of one or two vehicles. For a functional evaluation, visual condition survey is the best method that we adopt. I don't say best method, simple and easy and quick and you can finish it in no time if you have a little experience. So what visual condition survey and distress survey is that? This is only the sometime standalone procedure for decision making, sir. Yes, even today this is a standalone procedure for decision making. So visual condition survey usually consists of recording of payment distresses. One should have a knowledge of the what are the different kind of distresses, failure mechanism that has got in the flexible payment. Then you need to rate those payments. Then you make a detailed presentations, and visual condition survey usually at least to train people, record the data, and carry out the information. Or if you have a vehicle, travel at a 40 or 50 kilometer per hour, and you can also try to make the payment condition visibly. Once the payment, this data is recorded, very simplest what we can do is that. So this is the common type of the flexible payment type of distress that there are about 22 type of flexible payment distresses that can be measured. Okay, so using this functional visual condition survey, rate this kind of a distresses, and you can try to make a decision making like descriptive rating of the payment condition. What is the descriptive rating? In the case of the descriptive rating, the payment condition, the terms good, fair, bad. What is good, fair, bad? Payment rate, if it is a good, payment section requires no intervention. Nothing required. Fair requires some kind of maintenance for surface layer. The third one, bad, structurally failed, requires a rehabilitation of all bituminous layer, even reconstruction of the payment structure. Sir, this good, fair, bad can be given in this way. I have just taken from the one of the ASTM, American Standard Testing Material of the D6433. Code of practice says that payment condition index. Sir, payment condition index is a composite index considering all the kind of distresses. And that rating, if you do it, if it is PCI greater than 85, good. 70 to 85, satisfactory, fair, poor, very poor. And these two almost, this is in the mortuary, this is on the ventilator. After mortuary, from this go to the ventilator. So at least up to this, you have gotten a medication to do that. So this way, one can easily, and this is a procedure. This is a procedure I can say till the recent years before this AI, ML technology, all these things are there. From the last 50, 60 years across the world, people are following the visual condition survey. And of course, again, I can say this is not perfect. Subjectiveness also is there, but something is better than nothing sometime. We can adopt this. This is the one way of measuring your functional evaluation of payment.
बहुत ही ज्यादा नजायज महंगी है और टेस्टी भी नहीं है, पता नहीं क्यों। मैं सीधे लॉन्च कर, मुझे लगता है मैं खुद भी नहीं लेके आता। अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लगे तो वीडियो को लाइक करना, कमेंट।
I request the Dr. Manpreet, please mute yourself. Yeah. Sir, the second concept is, the first concept is the visual condition survey. The second concept is there, you're all aware, that is called an AASHTO, American Association of State Highway Transport Officials, which is in a very prominent and very big organization in the United States of America. All the payment engineering principles, designs, maintenance, failure mechanism aspect are the result of the test tax studies that they have been conducted. This is in the year of 1952, 53, way back in the 1950s, 60s, these things. From these, one of the beautiful concept has been evolved. That concept has been developed by the two great gentlemen. One is Mr. Carey, another is Mr. Eric. These are the two people who have put a lot of effort and tried to develop the some concepts. Prior to the 1952, 1960, sir, in the payment management system or in the payment evaluation, there is no accepted definition of the performance. Even now, IRC 37 2018 for the high volume roads or IRC SP 70 to 2000 for the low volume roads, there are some performance criteria. So I think you are all aware what kind of performance, two performance criteria. One is rutting performance criteria, second is fatigue performance criteria. In the case of low volume road, we don't talk about the fatigue performance criteria. Since the top layer is only a 20 millimeter, it is not considered as a structural layer. We consider only a rutting performance criteria. And these people incorporated a concept called as serviceability. Serviceability as a factor that is included in the payment design. Okay, so this serviceability, they are determined in the two ways. One is present serviceability index. That is, I can say, one is a present serviceability index, which has come from the Asher road test. And the second one is roughness index or roughness IRI, which is called we also know that we are calling it an IRI, that is International Roughness Index. International Roughness Index is not from the study, but now we are trying to quantify. One way is a PSI, present serviceability index of the payment. Second one is in terms of the roughness. That roughness is we are calling in terms of your International Roughness Index for meter per kilometer or per kilometer or centimeter kilometer or inches per mile, something. Okay. So what exactly the concept is? The concept is to correlate. The concept is to correlate subjective rating of payment performance with the objective measurement. Sir, I hope please try to understand what I'm trying to say. They were trying to measure, they were trying to address the subjective rating of the payment performance with any objective measurements. So what exactly the meaning of this here is? So let us imagine, suppose there is a 10-kilometer stretch of the road. We are all there. I'll ask about a 10 to 15 students or 10 to 15 faculty members, 10 to 15 researchers. Walk on this road or travel on this road and you rate the payment. Is there any guarantee that all of them rate the same? No. I'm sure that if it 50 people, 50 variety different answers will come. That is highly subjectiveness. Okay, that's highly subjectiveness. Now, if I make an equipment, let us say I ask you, sir, tell me what is the roughness of this payment. So you feel that, put your hand and try to say, check this one and try to see, sir, roughness may be 1.2, 1.8, 2.2, 2.3. If you ask me, no, it is 5. If I ask X1, no, sir, it is too rough, sir, it may be 3. All these are, that is what is subjective. This subjective nature is there. So in order to make it subjective correlation, if I make an equipment, and equipment, it must give a same repeatability value at least. And I'm sure within the equipment also, if you use several times, there's no guarantee that it give you exact values, but negligible difference will be there. So these concepts they are developed at the ASHO road test. So exactly this is what the ASHO road test I can say. So this is a huge loop of number of kilometers and kilometers and kilometers they are constructed. They say somewhere flexible payment, they say somewhere pre-tested concrete, they say some rigid payment, they say some other rigid payment, and you look at this, starting from this vehicle to this vehicle, this vehicle, this vehicle, to the, you can say the front axle, load axle, road axle, and they just pour the diesel and asking each vehicle, keep on traveling on this and record the data. As a result of that only, the fundamental or principle of payment engineering or payment principles we are enjoying today on this road test. Unfortunately, India, we are not yet started any of this kind of research studies or research stations or research centers in the country. It's a high time, at least now, we need to think of these things, which is in a very, very useful and save the money, resources, nation, efforts to the country. Sir, this is the form that is simplest form that is used. That is present serviceability index. So what they did is a 10th class student, intermediate student, degree student, auto wala, professional divers, policy makers, academicians, researchers, engineers, etc., 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 etc. They gather about some number of people. They given them this form, and they gave a rating 0 to 5. 0 to 5. You say that what is the section identification number, what is the rating, what is the rater, date, time, what kind of vehicle you are using. So the rater, highway number, section number, date is payment of acceptable quality. Yes is yes, no is no, undecided. Yes, no, undecided. Having gathered all this data, they have developed a one beautiful model, simplest equation. This equation is this, that is present serviceability index. So to develop the present serviceability index, we require fundamentally 4 parameters, that is slope variance, rut depth, cracking, and patching. Now, I'm sure if at all you want to try in your jurisdiction, you get this data, substitute the value in this, and try to find out what is the PSI. And you know that, we all know that PSI is nothing but, this says that if this is my time, And if this is my condition in terms of PSI, okay, they said minimum is 2 for rural roads, minimum is 3 for high volume road, otherwise the maximum value is 5. 0 and 5. 0 being the failed, 5 being the excellent in between, with a minimum 2 acceptable for the rural roads and 3 for the high volume roads. So that you can say, oh, my payment is within the acceptable limit. If it's not acceptable, demand for any maintenance. And this is the equation developed for your rigid payment transactions. Okay. So now, sir, before I move to this, can anybody tell me if I draw a time versus your age or my age? Time in years or days versus age. Sorry, time versus this is not, I'm sorry, please excuse me. This is the condition, your condition. Sir, what will be the shape of the curve? Any idea? Can I have a shape like this? That is 0. This is 60 years. This is 0. This is 5. Can I have a trend like this? Straight line? No. Super. Any yes? Anybody? Inclined line. Yeah, right, sir. Sir, it may be wrong also, please correct me. What is this? Usually, let me take other color, wait. Usually, this will be the trend, sir. Yeah. This will be the usual trend. It means that 0 year, 60 year, as the time progress, your condition is also going to be steady. I can say this is the age of 40, age of 50, 60, 70, or 80. So, sir, people also loosely use two terms whenever they talk about the payment evaluation part. They say that payment is damaged and the other is payment is deteriorated. Can any scholar, if any participant tell me what exactly the difference as a engineer, how we can yeah, any answers? Damage need replacement, deterioration can be repaired. Okay, are there any answers? Yes, sir. Please remember, imagine that if you are all sitting in one classroom, we're all sitting in one classroom. What I will do is, I will make the 2 column of that room as a inadequate. I'll make 2 column of this building as inadequate. Will you be dare enough to sit under this building? Will you be dare enough to sit under this building? Absolutely no. Why? If you are going to make inadequate 2 columns, immediate building, his room is going to collapse. Will be running out. So what is the things? Damage means which can see to your naked eye immediately. But whereas deterioration, you got a promotion, I got a promotion, purchased a new car, a new bike. Okay, you are going on the road, there is a crack, there is a pothole, there is a black rocking. Are you stopping your vehicle? No. We used to travel, nothing will happen. So that means that in payment evaluation, we will not take anything about the payment damage. For that matter, any damage in the payment is not any damage, it's only deterioration. Deterioration is the one which happens over the period of time. That's why the classical term payment deterioration. Payment deterioration, the internal damage caused to the payment due to the operational environment. Read the each line. The internal damage caused to the payment due to the operational environment over a period of time accumulated and progressed on the top of the surface crack. It means that the internal damage, whatever has to be happened, whatever the damage happened, it will happen is happened long back, but it will not immediately comes on the surface. It takes time. That is what the modeling that we do. Crack initiation, crack progression. Okay, crack initiation and crack progression. So with this, now the second most important point is that this is what the olden days kind of a technology. And these were the quality of the roads. These were the riding quality. These were the vehicles. But today you see the vehicle, Bharat bench, the kind of axles, the kind of tire pressure, the kind of body, the kind of steering, power steering, engine to power horse ratio, braking system, ABC, effect impact loading, lot of. So we need to talk about the roughness because functional condition is directly related to the safety of the road user. Okay, so both affect the functional as well as the performance of the payment. So roughness lead, if the true roughness leads to the increase in vehicle operation cost, user delay, accidents, user dissatisfaction, and friction loss due to the increase in wet weather accidents. And recall that there was a time when the road users were satisfied when payment surface meant. And again, that is what the basically the concept given there, getting them out of the mud, getting them from out of the mud. That was the criteria. That was the things. And this is what the roughness, this is what the smoothness. You know that this is a perfect planar payment. Okay, this is what a perfect planar surface. So how do you define a roughness? Roughness is nothing but you can see this elevation, the difference from the planar surface. That what exactly the riding quality. It has got a lot of impact. Okay, so lack of roughness, free bumps and dips that cause discomfort to the traveling public. And it also reduces the vehicle operation cost and less tire and wear if it's a good travel surface is there. Mostly for public is comfort, safety, and reduce the payment and maintenance cost also. And look at this picture, sir. So what kind of payment it is? Is it a smooth payment or rough payment? Is it a smooth payment or rough payment? Now you can see. I have given to you. So this is what we are expecting today. Am I right? This is what everybody wanted. This is what everybody enjoyed. This is the things. Okay. Nadia, just 2 minutes. I'll get back to you. 2 minutes. I have an urgent call to take 2 minutes, please. Please excuse me.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, are you there?
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. I'm getting back, please.
All right, sir. All right, sir. No problem, sir.
Yeah. So, Naidu, sorry. There was a call from my director. There was an urgent issue from the ministry. I attended. I'm sorry.
Sir, it's okay, sir. No problem, sir. No problem, sir.
Yeah. So this is what exactly that we have to be concentrated. Okay. Now. Yes. So, sir, as I was telling, whether it's a functional evaluation, whether it's a structural evaluation, look at this. Somebody asked, now I'll ask a question to you. What is the smooth riding quality? How can it be smooth measured? Definitely, there is a subjectivity. How can we distinguish the different levels of smoothness? What is the appropriate level of riding quality for various classes of roads? Do acceptable levels vary? payment type with respect to payment type with the method of transaction, I say yes. Now look at this surface, look at this surface, look at this surface, look at this surface. Right? So now, can you name this? Can you name the profile? Can you name the profile? What is A? What is B? What is C? What is D? Anybody? It's like your ECG. It's like your heart patient ECG. Sir, these are the things. This is a planar surface. This is a microstructure. This is a macro. This is a mega. This is unevenness. This is what your vertical profile. We were talking about all these things. So if you look further, micro, macro quantification is different. But on the road, when you travel on the road, we can observe all these profiles very comfortably. Okay. So all these are measured. All these are measured in terms of the any clues? What is that? What is the profiles of this? This is the. Anybody seen all these profiles on the road? Mostly no. Yeah. So, sir, all these profiles in terms of the planar, micro, macro, mega, unevenness, vertical profile, we terms in terms of the international roughness index, which is called an international roughness index. Somebody may ask me a question, sir, what is this roughness index? What is this international roughness index? Sir, in the market, variety kind of an equipments are available. And if I use one equipment, it will give one value. If you use one more equipment, it give one more value. Okay. If you use in India, it will give one more value. If you go somewhere geographical transferability happen, it will give. So in order to counteract these things, a World Bank has taken one study and they made a beautiful research. any country, anywhere, any road, any kind of mixed design, any kind of these things, your road roughness, your IRA should be given a limits. If your IRA in that one only is a good or bad or poor can be given. Otherwise, Naidu, am I audible? Somebody says it's not audible. Can somebody confirm am I audible, please? Okay, right. So IRA experiment conducted in Brazil and different parts of the country allow you can see here, it allows the data from different instruments and different countries to be directly compared to the historical trends and determine the confidence levels. Without a common method for calculation, result from the research could not be compared without the use of the conversion factor from the to the next unit. So you can see here, I say IRI up to 6 IRI is good. TRL say up to good. But you say PSI also, you can see the comparison. What is IRI? What is your bump indicator index? What is your quarter car model? What is your PSI? So all this can be grouped into one single parameter, which is called an IRI. So this is what you can see. Up to 2.5, excellent profile usually found in the case of runway payments. 2.5 to 4, very good surface profile. 4 to 6, good. So this comparison, this description will give you the payment conditions. Now, these are the, latest technologies. Inertial profilers, high-low. This is what called an automatic road analyzer. Automatic road analyzer. This is the state of the technology. Whatever we have discussed now, the manual way of visual condition survey and all those things, can be replaced with this kind of a technology. Naidu garu?
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm sorry అండి ఏమనుకోవద్దు మీరు నాకు కొంచెం ఒక 5 minutes అంటే మినిస్ట్రీ కాల్ ఉంది నేను తీసుకోవాలి కంపల్సరీగా.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Not a problem, sir. అందులోకి వీళ్ళు participants కి feedback ఇచ్చాను, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not a problem, sir. Not a problem, sir. Dear participants, the feedback link is already shared with you. Kindly fill the feedback. Okay. So, dear participants, from the beginning of this FDP, I have been getting requests to add some other numbers which were sometimes may not be registered in the FDP, but they wanted to be listening the FDP, although we have entered them. Okay. So kindly please stop those requests of doing this. Okay, so-called numbers, and in the group we have given some helpline numbers to register. You just call that number, they'll register you for that particular program. If at all you have been already registered through the ATAL portal. Okay, if you are more other than ATAL portal, maybe the entry may be restricted. Okay.
Yeah. So, sir, now whatever we discussed, the visual condition survey, or the ASHO road test method, or the PSI concept, or these things. Now, this is the state of the technology today. This is called, people are calling in some state, we call it as NSV, Network Survey Vehicle. Somebody calling in a automatic road analyzer. Somebody are called in a, also you know that there is one company called RAMDAS, Road Measuring Data Acquisition System, RAMDAS, or profilers. So what exactly you can say this? You can say this. So your network survey vehicle of a small scale, this kind of scales. So you have a front camera, we have a back camera, we have a scanner, which can give you the even 1 mm of hairline crack. It can detect it. It can give a rut index. It can give the roughness. It can give the texture. It can give the within the right of way what is the assets of the road. It can give you the complete picture of the road. And this is what at NIT Warangal we also purchased, which is called a Roadmaster, which is called a roughometer, which is fitted to the vehicle, which gives the roughness of the vehicle. And this is typically costing, not in the present context, about not less than 5 to 6 CR. I was told in this morning, one of my friend who stays in China has developed around some minimum 600 to 850 network survey vehicles. I can say in India, we have hardly around, I think not less than or not more than 10 network survey vehicles. Everything automatic, everything, there is no manual. And per day, 100, 150 kilometers can be measured, entire data can be given. This will help us to make the decision quick and to make the resources quick. Of course, these are all aware. Nobody is using today. Bump integrator, no one interested. Okay. Of course, this is equipment called a small scale equipment called a dipstick. Dipstick it is. So it is also used for the measuring the roughness, but on a small scale project, but not on a large scale project. And use it for mostly for the calibration purpose. This is what the dipstick. You have got any 2 legs fitted to the laptop, small laptop, and you can see here, because we have to make a turn this way while walking along the road. It will measure the on the left side and both side the elevation difference. Okay, that's all the a dipstick that can be. Of course, very simple, cost effective. Anybody can be used. Anybody can purchase. So-called a Merlin. Stands for machine for evaluating roughness using low-cost instrumentation. Machine for using roughness using low-cost instrumentation. Cost around 25,000 rupees. It makes use of the concept called a mid-chord concept. Mid-chord principle, and easily you can measure the roughness. For a given road, most of the time you can see if the data you found in between this is a good road. If you find more data here and there, that is not at all acceptable. This is one of the simplest form, which is in a road roughness. I think I have a sheet next. Yeah. So, sir, I said dipstick cost around 10 lakhs. Network vehicle cost about 5 to 8 crores. Other roughness laser profiler called about 9 lakhs. But I don't have that much of money. I have a budget constraint. In that case, you can comfortably use your Merlin machine for evaluating roughness. Using this Merlin, You can see here, the relationship between the Merlin scale and BI and IRI are given below, irrespective of the type of the surface of the road. You can see here, for all road surface, IRI is equal to 0.593 plus 0.47 D. You need to include, get the only D value. This D value of the, from you get from this sheet. If you try to substitute this value, you can get the IRA of the road. Once you get the IRA of the road, very simplest. And you can see for asphalt, surface, gravel, earthen road, this is the kind of a situation. One can use this kind of relationship. Yeah, and for this is my own research. You can see this is a Guntur, this is Kurnool, this is Warangal. Started a data from April 2008 to December 2010. Take a particular road, how the progression is happening, 4.6, 4.8, 4.92 to the 6.8, not acceptable. Of course, within a span of just 3-4 years, no road is performing better. That is unfortunate. Okay, this is the one thing. Now, I also wanted to highlight you today. I don't know how many of you are from Hyderabad, but let me tell you one story of Hyderabad. Sir, there is a Telugu Tali flyover in front of the Secretariat. To the best of my story, what I heard and what I witnessed is that start from the Amrita Castle Hotel and ends at the supposed to be ended at the Ambedkar statue. But unfortunately, I was doing my diploma in government politics master tank that time, and I did my BTech from Vasavi. I was there for about 10 years in Hyderabad. I witnessed for that. That flyover started from their construction, and after going through the Burgul Ramakrishna Bhavan, they stopped it. It was pending for from 5-6 years. The reason is they could not mitigate, they could not accept it. At the center of that, at a meter of 10 to 15 meters down, there is a huge water pipeline that is going to the Hyderabad. They what to do? As a result, they have extended their flyover not to the downside side of the Indira Park. Otherwise, you have to end there. Now, in that case, now what I wanted to tell is today in the technology, our road alignment passing through the urban area, especially, where is the gas pipeline? Where is the ATAL line? Where is the BSNL line? Where is the thing? Those things are becoming very, very difficult. So to identify the underground utilities, a technology which is called today, we have a ground penetrating radar. Forget about those things, at least without opening, means if a human being is there, you put a laser, it will tell you what is your bone strength, what is your mass strength, what is there inside. Similarly, here also, you can see by sending a rays, you can find out what are the different layers, their condition. This is how it works. So this is what simplest ground granulated GPR. This is a vehicle mounted GPR, and this is also ground vehicle mounted GPR. Okay, so this is cost. I think I have been told my friend, GPR alone, if you want to buy, it costing around some 12 to 15 crores equipment, very costliest. And you can see here, they can go to 0.1 meter to the 300 meter depth. There are, but we don't require this much of. Hardly we require 1 to 1.5 meter for the payment applications. But for the research purposes, for the for finding out the gold, finding out the diamond, where it is there, at what depth it is there, where these things are, people are using this today technology. Okay. So this is how it is given for our payment evaluation. Given that you can segregate the different layers, you can segregate the different values, you can give the where is the void, where is the density problem, where is the coarse issues are there. This can present it very comfortably. And this is what exactly you can see, sir. Recently, NIT Warangal has done one study to the government of Andhra Pradesh, sorry, government of Telangana, so-called a GHMC, Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. We have been asking them, they have given us a study called benefit monitoring evaluation of by constructing a flyovers, underpasses, subways, link roads, and those things. So they wanted to quantify what is the benefits of this on the society, what is the saving in terms of. We have done a study. Similarly, also they asked us to find out what is the strength or what is the maintenance that is required for the this strategic network development fund, SNDP roads or this government of Telangana. There, we asked them, please provide us the crusty details data. They said we don't have data. Then I asked them, please allow me to dig and then no, you are not allowed to even put your small of hole into the payment section. Anywhere, entire city. Then how should I get the data? Use the technology. This is what we have used the technology. These are the different sections you can say. So here, Lakadiga pull to Nanakram Guda, Chadargattu, Chintagattu, Kajaguda, Naya pull to JNTU. These are the sections. You can see here the bituminous layer 170, granular layer 315, like that. This is what means. We could not able to demarcate which is the sub base, which is the base clearly, but there are some limitation of this GPR. At least we could able to ascertain this kind of a strength. Now, sir, as we know that this is the typical payment structure. This is what your skin. If you get a small, wound or small, injury on your health, how do you feel bad? Similarly, the same function does by the subgrade. Subgrade should be treated very properly. So most of the time for a payment engineer, what discharge the payment, either is a water, or there is a environment, either is a temperature, either it is other activities. Okay, and as a result, this is the payment section. And environmental causes, different kind of things. Okay, so now for your example, the environment, temperature especially. Bitumen is susceptible to the temperature. Bitumen causes in a cracking. Temperature because it's subjected to because bitumen is a viscoelastic material subject to the temperature, drying, wetting, shrink, and those things. We expect this kind of a cracking. And these are the real life cracking in the field. Now let me show you. Usually what happens, this is my payment, this is my classical payment. I have a crack. Assume that there is a water. Now there is an intrusion of water. When there is an opening, imagine that one more truck is coming. It is further damages. Instead of one source, it now becomes the three sources. End of the day, this is what my initial crack. I did not care it. I waited till this. Even I did not respond here. I waited till this. Now the situation has become very worst. Sir, let me tell you frankly to all of you. If you can able to arrest this cracking further here, it may cost you 10 rupees. By the time you come to this period, it costs 100 rupees. Sir, this 10 rupees business is 100 rupees is nothing for any unit kilometer, 10 kilometer, 5 kilometer. Multiplied with the n kilometer of road network, definitely that much of nation asset, that much of nation amount, it is wasted, sir. That is what where exactly the smart evaluation, smart automation, smart system of payment evaluation need to be carried out. And what we do know in the field, if this is my crack, this is what I do. Do you recommend this? Can somebody just by message and tell me, do you recommend this kind of things on the road? And we see this is what exactly happens. But this is not the way of doing that. This is not the, yeah, PVC, but this is not the way of doing this. Way of doing something different. How? You can say this, cut nicely this portion with the material. Look at how beautiful it is. Why we can't able to get this kind of workmanship? Who's stopping? God is now stopping us. This is what, sir. As I told you, too much polished. Simply apply a fox seal. Yes, it will improve the reading quality, it will improve the texture, it will improve the skid resistance, it will improve the IRA, all qualities, nothing. Chip seal, yes, other kind of maintenance aspects. You can see this. I applied these things, added chips. Third one, this is a poor amendment of the material. You have to, this is chip seal with a poor amendment, chip seal with a fox seal, and we have to compact it very properly. This is a structural layer. You see, existing pavement is badly deteriorated. You can apply a microsurfacing. You need not to overlay. You need not to redesign. You need not to do this back. But this is what your microsurfacing will do. But as I said, whether corona, whether dengue, whether typhoid, there's a one treatment. What is that? Paracetamol. So whether it's a racking, cracking, patching, nobody bother. Do one thing, go for an overlay, which is not cost effective, which is not good also. And you can see now, this is the adding a new structure to the payment. This is definitely a cost effective. Sir, right now I'm talking only about the flexible payment. Rigid payment has its own history. Definitely, I'll tell you for you since you asked. People is called on a diamond grilling. That also the concept is there in the rigid payment also. Now, as I told you yesterday in the last class, MDR, full depth reclamation. How many of you seen this kind of works on Indian roads? Anyone? I'm sorry, this is not my picture, borrowed from, yes. Now, thanks to the technology, exactly. Thanks to the technology, especially thanks to the, the Honorable Minister. Today, we are enjoying this kind of infrastructure. Olden days, fully manual, now fully mechanized. Thanks to the technology, yes, India is witnessing this. We can able to create, see, existing material recycled, then and there, put in the bins, make a treatment, done a overlay compaction, then and there. Excellent technology. And it can also address your reflective crackings, crush and shape. This also excellent kind of a solution. So, sir, let me also, last but not the least, all these technologies, all these things, guidelines are there. But the only thing is, what is happening is, end of the day, we don't have a ready-made tools. We don't have a ready-made, solution. What is solution? Let us consider a pavement which has gotten a skid resistance, a pavement which has got a roughness, a pavement which has got a cracking, pavement which has got rutting, pavement which has got a deflection. With these numbers, don't too much think about these numbers. This kind of philosophical logic is there. Yes, sir. If you're 35 is less than RSL 35, these things, end of the day, see this. This is the treatment that you have to adopt. And what are these treatments? These are the treatments. Microsurfacing, chip seal, overlay, 40 mm, heavy treatment required, do nothing, slurry seal, thin overlay, microsurfacing. Okay, Foxhill. These are the things the people are expecting now. And thanks to the technology, AI, ML, deep learning, all these things, it is possible now. But again, thing is, this is missing. Art is missing. Art means database. If you don't have a database, forget about civil engineering, not for that, but any engineering, you cannot do anything. We cannot do anything. Right, sir? So this is what the end of the presentation. So what I wanted to tell is that I know I'm running a little fast, but there is a lot of scope for the young researchers to put into this payment evaluation using a smart technologies. You can create a miracles. So now I open for any questions, specific questions. I'll be happy to answer it. So I am sorry again for disturbances in between. It is a working the system. Sometimes I need to obey my boss, my ministry also. That's why I had just interruptions. Please don't mind otherwise. Thank you very much. Thank you all. So if I have any questions, I'll try to take.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for great presentation. Dear participants, sir is open for queries. Quickly, you can ask some queries if you have anyone. Yes, sir. I hope the participant doesn't have any queries actually. To the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
I deem it a great privilege to deliver
There
vote
are,
of thanks on this.
nice session, nice thing, this thing, good thing. Is it payment? Okay. Yeah, if nothing questions, well, thank you once again for the management of Pace College of Engineering and also the another Department of Civil Engineering for giving me this opportunity to share a little of my knowledge, experience with you. Thank you all with this. Thank you very much.
On behalf of organizing committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr.S.Shankar sir for sparing his valuable time and delivering an insightful and thoughtful provoking session. Lecture has enriched our knowledge and opened new perspectives. We are truly grateful for his inspiration words and clarity with which he shared his expertise. Sir, I would also like to thank our management, faculty, principal for organizing such a great session, and the participants. Thank you for being a great part of this particular session. Once again, thank you, Professor S. Shankar, for your valuable presence and guidance, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, participants. Actually, we have passed the second session time. Our resource person for today's session is already in the participants link now. So, we give a formal introduction about our resource person for today's session. And then we'll proceed to the next session. Okay. Dr. Nithin Charkuri, presently working as Senior Manager, LCA Climate and Carbon at General Carbon Advisory Services Private Limited. He has a PhD degree in Civil Engineering with specialization in Waste to Energy. With expertise in sustainability and environmental engineering, he has engaged in several research projects and consultancy related to life cycle assessment, carbon footprint, and climatic change mitigation strategies. His keen interest lies in exploring the potential of AI in engineering applications, particularly in the domains of climate change, sustainability, life cycle assessment, and carbon footprint analysis. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming today's resource person, Dr. Nithin Cherukuri. Sir, all yours, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. So please let me know if you all can see my screen. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Yes. So yeah, I know we are far end of the day, but it is my privilege to take a session in an ATAL FDP organizing by the Pace Institute of Science and Technology, Pace Institute of Technology and Sciences, and very small history about ATAL FDP that I myself have finished one ATAL FDP during my doctoral study, and that is on the waste technologies emerging strategies in waste management solutions. With this small brief, and I thank the head of the department and the organizing committee for giving me such a great opportunity and creating a wonderful venue to share and collaborate at this space. And moving ahead with the presentation, so we have planned in a way that two sessions will be taken. I'll be taking two sessions where I will be mostly covering the climate change and sustainability piece to the best of my knowledge. So because we all know the climate change and sustainability domain itself is quite huge, and it may require, I would say, some the whole duration of this FDP time also if you want to discuss in detail. So I'll try my level best to cover up the points which has been given in the agenda. Yes. Am I good to go?
Yes, I have muted all the other participants. You are good to go.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So with this, myself, Dr. Nithin Cherkuri, and I operate at a capacity of senior manager in General Carbon. General Carbon is a company which is founded in 2009, and it is initially a carbon asset management company and evolved as a sustainability consulting firm. And we have a team of almost 35 employees who operate all over from India, and we are headquartered in Mumbai and also have a branch office in Hyderabad. I'll not bother you much telling about the organization. As mentioned, we were 15 plus years old organization, and we work on ESG sustainability reporting, and we work on the climate space, and we also have a great presence in the carbon markets. Not only the engagements what we see in the outside in the market, but also we make sure hand-holded journey should be done for all the clients whom we assess. And a small glimpse of the different accolades and memberships what we have. We were continuously being given prizes on different aspects, and we are members of different trade exchange, energy exchange, trading organizations, and we are the sole regional partners of Open LCA. And with the sole regional partnership of Open LCA, the database, which is almost technically and AI driven database for the utilization of the software is Ecoinment, which we have the lifetime subscription, and we are also an international EPD consultant, international EPD systems listed LCA consultant. With this brief, I'll go into the context why we assembled here in this today's session. So with the artificial intelligence in the civil engineering, so I believe that we have to bridge the gap between the artificial intelligence and the civil engineering. So many people think that maybe the artificial intelligence and the civil engineering are too far away concepts, but I believe, especially in this climate change and the sustainability domain, both AI and civil engineering can go hand in hand, which can build the climate resilient systems, which can optimize the material utilization, and also can develop the low carbon strategies. Okay, and we make sure there are multiple applications available in the domain, and at this point, maybe for restricting ourselves to the agenda which has been promised, we will go through the life cycle assessment tool and how it can be operated in a way that it can take a positive impact to the environment is what we will see here. And obviously collaborative knowledge exchange, I'm sure starting from 2-3 days prior, there could be multiple concepts which have been explained by distinguished speakers, and I'm sure all these concepts can collectively and collaboratively brought together and used for the research studies which could take ahead in our extensive growth in our climate in the civil engineering domain. And with this broader theme of our FDP, let me go through the climate literacy in the engineering space. And in engineering space, we are not only persons who just build the infrastructure and technology. I am restricting myself to civil engineers point of view, because I myself a graduate from civil engineering domain. So we are not just the builders, we architect the future as per the needs and deeds of the Indian geopolitical space, or also from the global forum. And with this thing, and we are the persons who shape the physical world, obviously, and this shaping the physical world requires systematic thinking, and this systematic thinking should also have a good point of view and good understanding on the climate challenges which we have to integrate in our studies. And we also have to give a greater emphasis to the innovation for sustainability. And while going ahead with sustainable practices, innovative materials for the constructions, all these techniques, we have to make sure it is properly regulated as per the compliances given by the ministry, given by the Indian government, or given by the United Nations. And also the market pressures, because there are a lot of products which goes out of the country or which comes into the country. And we believe that there could be a shift into the exports and imports will result in the Indian markets, and it has happened already in the global markets, that there could be chances that exporting or importing will also be bringing the sustainable way and sustainable products into the system, is what we see in the current trend and scenario. And obviously ethical and the professional responsibility, we have to make sure and abide ourselves that uh, the whatever the technologies and whatever the studies what we are doing should be ethical in a way, and it should be responsible individually, so that each individual responsibility can lead to the collective fruits in the near future. So with this, and I'll move to the objectives of the session, with me walking you through the climate change and the sustainability. I'll make sure that a good understanding on the climate change, on climate impacts, what is about carbon footprint, and about the sustainable practices in the market, whether for an organization, whether for an educational institution, or it is for a manufacturing setup, or for an organization which is at a startup level, or for the humans and households also. So I'll give a small brief on this climate change and sustainability in the sessions. And coming to the carbon footprint part, I'll walk you through the scope emissions accounting on scope 1, 2, 3 emissions. Having the time constraints for us, and it is divided in two different sessions, I'll take you through the scope 1, 2 emissions clearly in this session. And in the upcoming session, I'll take you through the scope 3 emissions and about the life cycle assessment. Obviously, the life cycle assessment speaks about the emissions or the environmental impact that any product, process, or service which is on its way out to the environment or to the market, what is the environmental impact that this product is actually making to the environment, is what we assess in the life cycle assessment. And this could be the potential things which I can walk you through and get a little good of understanding on these parts. And with this, let us understand a little about climate change and sustainability. And before I go ahead with the climate change and sustainability, I'll take a pause here. And I'm sure organizers are okay with it, that anybody heard about NDCs, India's NDCs? If I can quickly get any responses in the chat. Okay, I have seen a message that no. Okay. And any other responses? I prefer that, you know, if we could keep this as an interaction session instead of you know, it's just a preaching or a session taken by a faculty. I'm not a person or a very much favorite to that part, so it would be great. I mean, if we could see some responses. And this responses, I don't know, I'm for some reason I'm unable to see the responses. I've seen only one, and after that screen is not moving. If anybody can see. No.
Sir, there are some messages on the chat box actually.
But just give me one moment.
Yes, yes. Shall I make you the co-host, sir? We can see this chat box.
Yeah, I think now I can see some messages. Yeah. Yes, yes. I can see some messages. It is nationally determined contributions. Yes. Yes, sir. Interactive sessions are always helpful. I mean, I generally prefer that kind of sessions only. I would have loved that if this FDP would have been in-person FDP, and I'm sure that maybe in the future, ATAL or at least the organization institute can plan certain FDPs. Yes. So NDCs, yes, it is nationally determined contributions. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Does the slide say climate change and sustainability, right, sir?
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So India's NDCs, yes. India as a country, and since climate change is a growing problem and the severity of the climate change is increasing day by day, all the organizations in the form of an United Nations have came together, and they meet at a common point every year under the roof called COP, Conference of the Parties, where every country and respected delegates will be representing every country, will attend the meetings, and their country will sign to tackle the climate change, and what are the steps and mitigation measures that the countries were taking is what countries will be declaring there. And these NDCs can be updated once in every 5 years, and earlier these NDCs have started from the year 2015. I hope you all might have heard about Paris Climate Agreement, which is rolled out on 2015. And after 2015, India has updated their NDCs, and India's updated NDC, for India's updated NDC, we, Indian government and ministry, had named it as Mission Life, where the Mission Life speaks about lifestyle for environment. And one major motto around the Mission Life is to mobilize every individual, not only in the country, at a global level, to take collective action for protection and conserving the environment. And they have restricted the time period to the duration of 2022 to 2028. And 7 major themes that India have taken up is the energy saving part, waste recycling part, and reusing and recycling of the waste parts, e-waste recycling, water conservation, sustainable food, in this ways. And who are all involved in these things? As you can see here, different urban local bodies, several number of villages, and different districts all together to safeguard and conserve and protect one planet, which is with a population of almost close to 1 billion. Okay, and how this can be achieved is the individual action, because each and every individual taking their responsibility properly to conserve and protect the climate, so that it can lead to the collective efforts, which itself can lead a greener environment and better future for our upcoming generations. And with this India's updated nationally determined contributions, we have three major points that India's NDC speaks about, which is about reducing the emission intensity of the GDP by 45 percentage by 2030 from 2005 level. So here I'll have to brief a little about emission intensity and also baseline scenario. So when it comes to the emission intensity, we speak about, let me put an example to you that um, if there is a manufacturing setup like maybe Tata Motors. So Tata Motors, let us say Tata Motors, because of the manufacturing and the production process, they emit something like some 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent into the atmosphere during one financial year. And this 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent is because of the production of some 1,000 units of vehicles from Tata Motors setup. So if we want to calculate the intensity, what we do, we subtract the total, we divide the total emissions which are happening, which is 1,000, and the total number of units which are happening, which are coming out of the production plant. So the division of the emissions, total GHG emissions, and the total number of units. It can be units, or it can be ton of production, or it can be persons, or it can be GDP. Here in this India's updated NDCs, we have taken the denominator as GDP, where we have to reduce our emission intensity by 45%. Let us say by 2005 level, which is our baseline level, we measured our emissions something like some 1,000, if not some 100 tons of CO2 equivalent. Then by 2030, we have to cut down our emission intensity by 45%, meaning by 2030, our emission intensity should be something like 55 only, 55 tons CO2 equivalent only. So that is one major commitment that India has committed. And the second one is 50% increase in cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel by 2030. I'm sure we are aware that India has already achieved this 50% of non-fossil fuel electric generation capacity some time back, maybe some 1 month back. India has achieved this, and it is there in public domain. I mean, people, you can go and search this, and you can get this statistics very clearly in India's climate energy dashboard. And I have taken these references from that website only. And very large and ambitious goal by India is to go net zero by 2070. So here, if we, before going and understanding and seeing the path through net zero, we have to see what is the difference between the carbon neutrality and the net zero. So I'll again pause here, and I'll see if at all anybody can just brief very quickly in the chat, so that we can go ahead in this session. Any understanding or differences between the carbon neutrality and net zero? Okay. Again, a small request to everyone. It would be great, I mean, if we can see some responses in the chat, so that at least we will understand that the session is being, consuming by the persons. Balancing carbon emissions, yes, Sudharani ma'am, that is one. But yes, even more, if at all anybody else can answer the point. Okay. So I see the carbon neutrality, and again I'll quote the example of Tata Motors. I mentioned about Tata Motors is producing or emitting some 1,000 tons of CO2 equivalent in one financial year, starting from April 1st and ending at March 31st. So if some 1,000 tons of GHG is being emitted from the organization, and to compensate this emissions, to nullify these emissions, if Tata Motors is doing some other work in some other place, not in the manufacturing setup area, if they are doing some other thing in some other place, then like carbon sequestrations, plantations, to reduce the emissions, I mean the activities which will reduce the emissions, so that this they were trying to do an offset here. So doing an offset mechanism and reducing the emission intensity speaks about carbon neutrality, whereas net zero speaks about cutting down the emissions or emitting emissions only through the renewable and non-fossil power is net zero. So carbon neutrality is doable by any organization or any corporate or any educational institution, but achieving net zero is quite challenging, which demands capex and opex. So it is quite tough path to achieve net zero, but it is indeed required that the crisis around the climate change is very much important to understand for us, and then to start some innovation in a way that greener fuels, fossil fuels will not be used, green energy, renewable energy integration into the day-to-day operations is very much indeed required. And with this we can see the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is India's net zero. And by 2070 India itself has committed that we will become net zero by 2070, meaning every individual in the India's geography, meaning whether it is a small kid or whether it is a corporate like Tata Motors, or whether it is like any other organizations, schools, colleges, persons, everybody should have to contribute themselves so that it can lead to net zero. And what kind of different things we see in net zero? To achieve net zero, we have to put a greater emphasis about climate change and sustainability. And what do we do? What do we understand to get a hang on climate change and sustainability? I have kept 2-3 different points here. One is about climate modeling. We all are aware that in mobiles and in our electronic devices we have the weather forecast coming out, and this weather forecasts are happening only because of the AI driven tools which are happening, and all these are ensemble models, and a lot of background research will happen to give the forecast. And all these were predictions basis the different AI driven tools which run in the background. And we also can put a greater emphasis on the smart cities, building the smart cities, and these smart cities can be equipped with sensor based infrastructure. And most importantly, and I think the concept of climate change, sustainability, carbon footprint, and the life cycle assessment comes in this third uh, box, which is the monitoring and the complaints. So what do you mean by monitoring? So for us to declare that we are net zero, if not we are reducing our emissions by 20% or 30%, what we do is we have to estimate the emissions which are happening at our place, whether if it is at my home, or whether it is at my office, or whether it is in my organization, or whether it is in my manufacturing area, right? So this monitoring estimation, this estimation of different kinds of emissions happens around you is will be kept in the monitoring space. Whereas the complaints, there are many rules that governments were bringing, especially for the corporates, because as of now the emphasis is greater on the corporate space and the industry space, whereas slowly near future we see that this will narrow down to each and every person, that different compliances like no single use plastic cover should be used. So some 40 gsm or 50 gsm covers or only paper bags will be allowed in the market is what we see generally. And we also have compliances for the organizations that if at all anybody is requesting you or asking you to go for a targets that you will go net zero by 2050 or 2070, then organizations has to take a step to achieve or to take a go ahead in the net zero space is what we generally see, and all these things will fall under the compliance space. And I'll take you through the monitoring and the compliance space, not even the compliance space, the monitoring space. How do we estimate the emissions around our organization? And I'm sure, I mean, if it is possible for everybody that if at all the if there is any possibility for you to go ahead with your organization, and I'm sure everybody is from the educational institution background, if there is any possibility of estimating the carbon footprint at your organization, it would be a very helpful for the organization. Maybe we can go ahead and publish some research articles, whereas I back this because during my tenure during my PhD, I've seen my organization and the management in the organization very interested to understand the waste management, and they've published some research articles also. And so with this, let us go ahead with the climate change piece. So this is the trend which you can see over the past 50 years. So if you can see, there is dark colored dark colored regions in the Arctic and the Antarctic regions, which is not usual. And this is because the climate change, what is happening, and the temperatures in the polar regions is drastically changing. And think about the changes that happens close to the equator or close to the Tropic of Cancer or close to the Tropic of Capricorn. So if the change itself is very much evident in the polar region, then it is obviously indeed we see a lot of climate change in our equatorial regions also. And global surface temperature, this is a graph which is taken out from NASA study, and you can see the change from the pre-industrial region, which is ranging from 0 to 1.5. And this is a study which is taken from almost past 100 to 150 years, and 20 years smoothing curve is plotted here, where you see the temperatures increase is close to almost 1.5 degrees centigrade. Okay. And why the temperature increase or the global surface temperature increase should not increase is, there is a study which has been there in the IPCC reports or even in multiple other sources, that if because of the climate change and the global surface temperature increasing more than 1.5 degrees centigrade, the climate change and its associated impacts cannot be reversed. Let us say if the global temperature is touching somewhere around 2 degrees centigrade. So because of the global surface temperature will also be effective there in the polar regions, and all the glaciers started melting evidently. And this melting of the glaciers will not be reversed if we surpass 1.5 degrees centigrade. Not only melting of the glaciers and the sea level rise increase, we also have multiple other evidences which we are seeing day to day. Summers are being prolonged for, maybe instead of being there for 2 months, the summer season is increasing its duration to 3 months and 3.5 months also. And the winters, the temperatures were going drastically down in the winters, but the duration of winters is coming down, whereas the rainy seasons, very abnormal rains were seen all over the world nowadays. And all this is because of the surface temperature range. So all the nations came together at one common platform as United Nations, at the conference of the parties in the year 2015, they signed an agreement telling that their emissions should be in line with 1.5 degree scenarios, meaning no matter how much development or how much technology that they were abiding to, they will make sure the emissions should not increase 1.5 degrees centigrade is what the commitment is. So we have to try our level best to cut down the global surface temperature not exceeding 1.5 degrees centigrade. And if the climate change is evident, then what happens? It is the global warming. And what do you mean by global warming? It's the Earth's temperature compared to the pre-industrial level, and because of the anthropogenic activities. And these anthropogenic activities can be fossil fuel burning and multiple other activities what we do. And you can see the temperature anomaly that before pre-industrialization and after pre-industrialization the temperature changes were very evident. And for our reference, the temperature is changing. I mean, we have kept a baseline at 1951 to 1980, and this is also a study drawn from NASA, where the emissions have surpassed to the preferred regions at 2016 and 2020, and now we are somewhere close to 1.5 degrees centigrade right away. And what happens if the global, I mean, what is the major reason for the global warming is the greenhouse gases. So what is greenhouse gases now? Greenhouse gases, before taking ahead and understanding about greenhouse gases, we also have to understand briefly about the greenhouse effect, which I'll brief you in the upcoming slides. So we have 7 different kinds of greenhouse gases: methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, sulfur hexafluoride, nitrogen trifluoride. And I have also mentioned about what could be the major reason to accumulate carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere is what I had listed here. And it is because of the transportation, fossil fuel combustion, coal and crude oil excavation from the mining. All these together collectively results the carbon dioxide deposition in the atmosphere. Whereas when it comes to methane is evidently because of the agriculture practices and also the landfills. And when it comes to the hydrofluorocarbons is because of the manufacturing of semiconductors. And we have nitrous oxide, and nitrous oxide is because of the vehicular usage what we do. And we have perfluorocarbons, and these perfluorocarbons were because of the aluminum production. And we have sulfur hexafluoride, which will be used for the materials which goes into the transmission system of the electricity. And also nitrogen trifluoride, and this nitrogen trifluoride is the leading contributor because of the solar panels. So these are different kinds of majorly listed greenhouse gases which we have to be aware of in the environment. And before explaining about greenhouse effect, let me pause here once again and ask one question about which one is greenhouse, whether it is the left side one or the right side one. Which one is the greenhouse? So we have a glass building here in the left side, and whereas one building with a vertical gardening aligned to the building in the right hand side. So which one is the greenhouse building? So I can see some responses: left side, right side, glass building, left side. Okay. Any other responses? Yes. Maybe we'll wait for 10 more seconds. None of them. Okay. I mean, while understanding about the subject, we thought, even I am in a confusion that which one is the green building, and I myself has asked, given an answer that right side is the greenhouse building, but it's not correct. The left side one is the greenhouse, and why this is greenhouse is what we have to understand. So just because our building outside of our building, our structure has the vertical gardening, that doesn't mean it's a greenhouse. there is a lot that we have to understand about greenhouse. So if you see the greenhouse, so there are different kinds of solar radiation that comes out of sun, obviously, with the different intensities and different wavelengths. So there could be good chances that longer wavelength radiation will not penetrate into the earth, whereas the shorter wavelength, longer intensity radiation will penetrate into the earth, and it stays in the earth's atmosphere, and it circulates there itself to provide heat, enough heat for our human livelihood. And then there is this visible light. Visible light is obviously transparent into that. So this greenhouse is a perfect deposition of, or perfect example of how earth draws enough amount of temperature from the atmosphere. So I'll show the same in a different way. You can see this. So from the sun, radiation will be radiation will be passed through the sun rays, and how much ever required temperature will be kept in the atmosphere, earth's atmosphere, where we have the atmosphere ranging to certain kilometers on top of our earth's surface, where the remaining portions or unrequired and unpenetrable radiation will be avoided from that layer itself. So with this greenhouse effect, we get a warmer temperature in the earth's atmosphere, which is very much essential for the human life, which is increasing now. So as I mentioned about the greenhouse and the greenhouse effect, without greenhouse effect, the earth's average temperature would be somewhere around 10 to 20, minus 10 to 20 degrees centigrade. Whereas if you have the greenhouse effect, the earth's temperature would be somewhere around, now the earth's average temperature is something like somewhere around, we say, some 20-30 degrees, which is very much essential and very much fruitful for us, which is very much livable for us. So this is the difference between earth's planet and the other planets in the solar system, right? So that's what we speak about the greenhouse effect. So this is what symbolically I've mentioned here. And all this greenhouse effect is because of the greenhouse gases, and we need a greater emphasis to understand very clearly about the GHGs. And let us see little statistics about India's GHG emission trends. So these are the all different sectors of India's GHG of India's GHG emission trends, which is this is a study again taken from the ICED, India's Climate Energy Dashboard. You can see the energy sector obviously will be having the greater emphasis and will be taking a huge part in the emissions, whereas the industrial processes and the product use. So bringing myself back to the civil engineering domain, civil engineering infrastructure development will fall in this industrial processes and the product use. And this industrial processes and the product use will itself lead somewhere around 8 to 9% of the global GHG emissions. And we also have different emissions because of the land use, land cover, and the forest, because of the agriculture, and also for the waste. And in industrial processes and the product use, what are the contributions of different products? Minerals have a certain medium level thing, and chemicals have very low, metal production has low, other productions, non-energy products usage have high. In this way, and since cement is like most essential thing which we have to understand as civil engineers, that cement, its industry speaks about contribute some 50% of total industrial processes and product use emissions. Okay, so this is the global Indian statistics around the GHG, whereas to why GHG is relevant and why there is a greater emphasis for the GHG is because of these reasons. And GHG plays a crucial role in sustainability and ESG. So I have kept my slide with the name of sustainability versus ESG, and I have given some description here also, but I'll take a pause here again and I'll see any responses that what could be the major difference between the sustainability and ESG in a single word. Maybe 3-4 words is also okay. Sustainability versus ESG. Okay. I don't see any responses yet. We'll wait for 10 more seconds and then we'll go ahead. I'll brief you anyways for sure. Sustainability, non-tangible. That's great answer. I should say this is the. I mean, I don't know how much work, ma'am, Dr. Reena, ma'am, you do in this space, but it's a great answer. I should say. ESG includes environmental, social governance. Yes, obviously, it includes about environmental, social governance. Yes. So. Uh, So sustainability is a concept, meaning it could be involving with different sustainable design, or it could be greener technologies, it could be fossil fuel reduction usage, and it could be tripling the renewable energy, doubling the efficiency, or it could be energy efficient technologies, or multiple other things. Whereas when it comes to ESG is more, definite terms. So ESG can be measurable, and metrics and key performance indicators will be there for ESG, whereas sustainability will not have a thing. So I should say sustainability is a concept, whereas ESG is a metric. So this is what one word thing, and obviously sustainability is non-tangible. We'll not be able to measure, gauge, understand anything about sustainability, whereas ESG, it is measurable, it is specific, it is definitive, and it is a process which is data driven. And this data driven is the place where we could use and see a lot of potential about AI. Okay, so I mentioned and I emphasized a little measurement, JJ emission accounting, carbon footprinting in my previous topics, but I'll put up emphasis once again that if you want to claim that you are reducing your emissions, then you have to measure. And once you measure, you get a baseline understanding at your baseline emission scenario at your organization, and with that you can start or play a little with the operational changes so that it can be managed in a way that emissions can be reduced. And if you cannot manage in a positive way, then you will not be able to perform. So this performance will be a key, plays a crucial role in the ESG metrics. That is a different study altogether. So with this emphasis on the measurement, let us dive into the carbon footprint. So I'll stop here for a while, and then I'll see if at all anybody have any questions. I'd be happy to take. And if at all anybody have any questions in between while I'm putting some points around the slides, feel free to park your questions in the chat box so that it can be addressed during the breaks or after the session. So I'll stop here for a while, and if you have any questions till now, I would be happy to take. Yes, Dr. Susila. Ma'am, why ESG considered more measurable than sustainability? Okay. So as mentioned, ma'am, ESG is a wording which has three main pillars, as someone had mentioned above, that it is about environmental, social, governance. So let us say environment. Environment, you will have multiple concepts like energy, waste, water, waste management, renewable energy. Certain definitive terms are there which have metrics for it. Let us say energy. So energy in terms of electricity, I should say. So electricity will have the units which is kilowatt hour, which is measurable. And if I ask you that what is your electricity consumption in 1 month, so what do we generally do is we take out our electricity bill receipt, and we see our emission, our bill and our units consumption there, which is definite. And if someone asks you a question that what uh, mm, if someone asks you a question that what could be your um, um, initiatives that you are bringing in your organization, that if not at your home, that you are reducing your emissions, is the question. So if that is the case, if you have a number associated to you, which is, let us say, some 230 kilowatts is what your electricity consumption for a month. So what are you doing to reduce or bring down your emissions? Is, if at all nobody is there in the room, I'll switch off the lights and fans. If at all nobody is in a place, is in the specific place, let us say in the hall, if the TV is on, or if nobody is there, then we will make sure the TV is not there. And if we are going ahead with this air conditioners, so we will make sure it is run only at the optimum temperatures, not going very less, like minus 16 degrees or 18 degrees, something like that. So you will have measurable metrics at ESG, not only at the environment space, it also have measurable metrics at the social space and also at the governance space. Whereas for the sustainability, you will not have metrics. Sustainability is a concept. So organizations tend to disclose their E, S, and G metrics in the form of sustainability report. So if you go study the sustainability report will have a theory, paragraphs, concepts, content which is written by the organization or by the consultants like us, who help the organizations to take a to give a notes, or CEO note, or this and that, all the concepts. So it's a concept, whereas ESG is a metrics which we measure. So that's the difference between the measurable and tangible concept, and also tangible metrics, and whereas the whole concept. So that's how we have divided it. I hope I answered the question. And if any else questions are there, I'll take up. If not, we'll go ahead to the carbon footprint piece. Okay. I don't see any more questions, and feel free to park your questions in the chat box so that maybe during the break or after the session we can take it up. Okay. So let us go ahead with the carbon footprint concept. This has multiple names. It could be carbon footprint, or it could be GHG emission accounting, or it could be carbon footprinting or carbon accounting. This has multiple names, and we it's up to our convenience that which name we are using. So now let me walk you through a world without carbon accounting. So what happens if the world is not having any carbon accounting? So if carbon accounting is not there, meaning no industries were scrutinized by any regulatory bodies, and they are free to emit any number of, or how much amount of emissions from their, or from their industry, then there is a chances that it is being misused by multiple industries and multiple households or multiple persons or multiple organizations. Okay, and that cost is not incorporated in the economy. That's the very sad thing. And nowadays it is being considered in the infrastructure development by the governments, not only by the Indian government but also from the multiple uh, countries in the world. And if we have an atmosphere which is free dumping ground for the carbon, there are no restrictions. What happens to our atmosphere is it becomes GHG intensive atmosphere, where if you have the GHGs which are more intense in the atmosphere, what happens is it leads to climate crisis. And only after a concept or a point or a thing which is leading to a crisis, then only our human mentality to take some actions around it is what we generally do. But there are certain things which, if it surpasses our hands, like I mentioned about 1.5 degree scenario and 2 degree scenarios some time back, if the temperature, global surface temperature is increasing 1.5 degree scenario, then the changes which we see is extremely difficult, will become extremely difficult for us, and they are very, what do you say, becomes very unchangeable. So the climate crisis will happen, and its associated pollution will also happen. And this associated pollution will comes with a cost. And what is the cost of the pollution around it? There is a study, and this is given by UNFCCC, that it could lead 4.2 million deaths per year. Maybe it could be a direct reasons or could be the indirect reasons, and it can also cost 3 trillion US dollars per year, which is a huge revenue number for, say, for a developing country or even for a developed country also. So it is important for us to do a carbon accounting, carbon footprint assessment, GHG accounting for any such organization, for anybody, I should say that. And what are the benefits and the co-benefits? Visible benefits would be very less, as I mentioned here. It could be measuring emissions, encourage actions by peers. It could be because of the industry best practices. People tend to see, if some organization, if Infosys is doing certain activity, then it could be a very human tendency that maybe some other organization like Vision Infotech Private Limited will also implement the same. It could be working in that way, but the associated benefits, if you see, they are huge. Obviously, it is environmental and health benefit, and it can draw and bring the new technologies with some investments, which can attract very good investments, and it could increase revenue. It increases the energy security and reduces the waste, and it reduces the usage of fossil fuels. And also, I'm not sure how many of you were aware about the CBAM, cross border adjustment mechanism, where if some, this is being brought by the European Union, that if some countries exporting some materials into the European Union, then associated carbon emissions should be calculated, and these calculated carbon emissions should be purchased. I mean, carbon emissions associated money should be purchased, and required certificates should be brought from the European country, and then only we are allowed to export our products into the European Union. And this is there. I mean, we see that this could happen in multiple other places also. And we also can align this with the sustainable development goals. How can we align the sustainable development goals? We all were aware of, as I mentioned, about the visible direct benefits, which is the good health and well-being, life on water, life on land, whereas the associated benefits with some investments, obviously, economic growth, and it could bring some innovations in the industry. It can bring the affordable and clean energy. It could lead to no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, because we make sure and we streamline each and every process is properly accountable from the grassroots level. So if we take certain steps and measures to make sure everybody is accountable, then the fruits and or the result is quite humongous. Okay, that's what drives everybody to take a step ahead with the emission accounting, which is the first step. And once you get an understanding about your emissions at a baseline, then it is up to you how we have to take that ahead. Okay, so with that, I'll start GHG accounting, how it can be done. So GHG emission accounting, this is a process of calculating different greenhouse gases, whether it could be directly related to your business operations, or it could be because indirectly related to the business operations, but it is essential for your business operations. And I mentioned about different GHGs earlier. I will not take you through this point. And why to measure GHGs? There are multiple points which I have showcased prior, so I'll also not take time to explain much, but certain terms here in this slide, maybe I might want to explain a little about who is the stakeholder, why risk, why opportunities, what is secure financing, everything. So I'll take some time to explain this in this slide. So first and foremost thing, the stakeholder expectations. So stakeholder could be some investor, or stakeholder should be some person like us who are sitting in this session, have a fair understanding about the emissions. So if there is this concept of organic products or organic vegetables in the market, right? So if I go, if a person who has a good understanding on the organic farming, or maybe around GHG emissions, all these things, so I'll go to the market, or I'll go to a I'll go to a mall, I'll go for a shopping, that I'll make sure the purchases what are going out of my purchases, what are doing by me, should be sustainable, is what the primary concept which I think about. So if I'm going for a purchase in a mall, especially for a clothing, so I go, there is certain I'll also name the brand, which is H&M. So H&M has a concept of, you go to H&M store and you give a bag which is of a small size, medium size, or large size, of full of your old clothes which are not used. Don't mind about inner wear, socks, normal wear, official wear, casual wear. Don't mind anything about. They don't even look into the garments what you are giving to them. If you give a small bag, they will give you a coupon which is valid for almost a year, or I think it is even more also, that it gives a flat 15% discount of the purchase what you do there. So what do H&M do with the old garments what we are submitting to them? So what H&M do is, H&M has a policy of going on preparing a recyclable clothing which is collected from these clothes and giving some discounts and coupons, which is their CSR. But since we are in the industry, I have a little understanding on these GHGs, so I'll make sure any purchase which is happening in H&M should be recyclable, is what I go. Not all the clothes were recyclable, made by recycled materials, but certain materials were there. So in that way, there are multiple other things in the market. So this is what I expect. I myself, putting myself in a position of a stakeholder, I expect that less emissions should result because of the actions what is being taken care by me. That is the first and foremost thing. And the second thing, since because H&M is doing some recyclable material clothing, I've kept that concept in front of you, so that it indirectly, this is not a branding talk which is H&M is paying me and then I'm putting this in front of you, right? So it is a thing which I came to know myself, and because of the little knowledge and exposure around this concept, so I kept this in front of you, which you may keep this point to some of your friends and colleagues, right? So this is how it increases the brand value. And not only H&M, there are multiple other brands who does this kinds of works. Even IKEA does this kinds of job. And risk reduction, value creation opportunities. So if you measure your GHGs, how do you reduce your risks? So maybe your organization will have some 4, 5, or 6 different concepts, different manufacturing processes at your place. So if you start measuring the emissions around your organization, what you see is at which stage of the manufacturing I am contributing myself to, I'm contributing more emissions into the environment is what I see. I understand clearly, and accordingly, if at all any specific area that it is emitting emissions which are more than the permissible limit, I'll make sure that specific area is properly taken care of with providing necessary equipment for the personnel who are operating there. All these things, and it can also lead some value creation opportunities in a way that if some organization is there and that organization is taking a step ahead with bringing back the packaging material. So I don't know whether it is still continuing by Haldirams, but Haldiram have started certain initiative some time back that after finishing the eating the Haldiram product, you go to the store which is located maybe in some malls or in some A-rated cities. You go there and you can drop in your packaging which is came out with the Haldiram products what you purchased for eating. You can put down there so that they can use that for the recycling, and then they reuse it with some measures and implementation strategies. So that's how they stop using virgin materials to come into their campus, and then they can use the reused and recycled materials. And regulatory compliance, I don't know how many of aware of the SEBI and the CDP, SBTI, DJSI, MSCI, EcoVadis, these things. So all these were disclosures and reportings which we have to avoid if some organization is disclosing certain information into the public domain. So we will make sure that it is properly taken care of. Operational improvements and the cost reduction, as mentioned, operational improvements will be able to do only if you understand the process from the grassroots level. And also, instead of using the virgin material, if you go for a recycled material, then chances are there that you cut down the virgin material usage there, and which is a revenue thing for you. And securing financing. So there is a disclosure called CDP in the market, that which CDP, if I want to elaborate, it's Carbon Disclosure Project. And CDP, let us say I'm one organization called some X. So I have some good 5 to 10 companies in my upstream side where I source the raw materials for the product manufacturing, and I have some good 100 downstream franchises or outlets where my finished product will go to that specific shops, and I give my product so that they can sell in their specific places. So with this, so myself is the organization, and I have some upstream and I have some downstream. So if this upstream side is the leading business maker with me, so let us say if he is doing some 60-70% of revenue because of our organization, then there are chances that he can request us to disclose our environmental performance in the public domain, which is CDP, in that disclosure, and they have to disclose year on year. So they request us, and what we do, we go to the CDP, we register ourselves, we take out the questionnaire, we fill, and then we submit, so that according to our submissions they curate, because they'll have some this kind of value chain partners, something like some 100, which is they might be some bigger organization like Zindal Steel or Tata Motor, something like that. So if they were requesting, so what they do, they collect the data, they collate the data, and they use the data for their reporting. They mention that not only in my organization, but I will also make sure my outside my organization the work is properly taken care of, which speaks about scope 3, right? And why this concept is essential here is there are organizations which are in the upstream downstream requesting the emissions, but there are capital market signatories who are investors. Let us say if I have some 100 billion fund with me, okay, so I can go to CDP and I can request them that I need so and so information from a semiconductor manufacturing company. So I'll do my background work and I'll take out a list which is like top 5 or top 10 semiconductor manufacturing companies in India. And I'll put a request to CDP that please send a request to so and so 10 customers in India so that they can disclose their environmental performance in CDP. So I will not ask them directly. I'll ask CDP. CDP will request them. I'll pay some nominal fee to CDP to collect the data from CDP. And as per their environmental performance, I'll go for investing to certain company. Let us say maybe if it is 2-3 companies who are interested, I'll make sure, okay, maybe if I invest in this company, I may see a return something like some 20% or 30% of returns by 2-3 years is what I see generally. That is how it could bring some very good investments with the name of capital market signatories. And that is very much doable only if you measure your GHS, and not only GHS, something other also, but this is the most important part here. So with this, let us go into the different types of emissions. We have 3 different kinds of emissions: scope 1 emissions, scope 2 and scope 3 emissions. So I'll take you through scope 1, 2 emissions today, and scope 3 emissions I'll take you through the upcoming session, which is on Saturday afternoon. So I'll make sure the what are scope 1 to emissions properly. I'll try and attempt to make you understand about what are scope 1 to emissions, and how the scope 1 to emissions can be calculated is what I'll take you through. And what are scope 1 emissions, what are scope 2 emissions, very briefly I'll explain you here. If you see, scope 1 and 2 emissions will be having their emissions which are restricting only to the reporting company. You can see the reporting company here, where scope 1 and scope 2 emissions is only happens in the organization. It is purely dependent on the organizational operations. And what could be the activities that we have to collect the data or understand so that the scope 1 to emissions could be taken care of is the question. So for that, scope 1 emissions are the direct emissions which are owned or controlled by the company. So let us say I'll take the example of our host organization, which is Space Institute of Technology and Sciences. Okay, so scope 1 emissions, if I want to speak about Space Institute of Technology and Sciences, emissions which are owned or controlled by the company. So what are the emissions that are owned or controlled by the company? So I should say PACE will have college buses. PACE might have certain vehicles, cars or bikes, which make sure the logistics and the infrastructure which is required to the organization will be taken care of. And mm, maybe processes like water purifiers, established bigger RO plants established in the organizations, or something like that. So all these operations are owned, which are totally having the ownership by the PACE Institute and controlled by the organization. It is purely controlled by PACE organization, is what scope 1 speaks about. And when it comes to scope 2, scope 2 speaks about any forms of purchased forms of energy. So basically, to run PACE Institute, we need electricity or power, which we will obviously pay to the electricity department, and we purchase the grid energy, grid electricity. And not only the electricity, we can also purchase some heating and cooling if you are close to some equipments and the organizations in or plants in that fashion, and we can also purchase steam. This purchasing of heating, cooling, and purchasing of steam, purchasing of steam might happen in some places where there is a tough chance of getting the firewood for the manufacturing plants, and purchasing heating cooling generally happens in the western countries, not with respect to, at least maybe our geography will not require that aspects. So now what is scope 3 then? So scope 3 is the emissions which are, I should say, indirect emissions which are outside your organizational boundary. So I'm mentioning scope 1 and 2 will be in your organization, whereas owned and controlled emissions in scope 1, whereas only the purchased forms of energy in scope 2, and outside your organizational boundary. It could be the upstream of the PACE Institute of Technology and Sciences, or it could be in the downstream of PACE Institute of Technology and Sciences. So this is how we differentiate scope 1, 2, and 3. And what are the different types of scope emissions we have is the question. So we have different kinds of categories in scope 1 emission, and the first one is the stationary combustion. So these are the categories for our easier understanding. And what do you mean by stationary combustion? So any combustion that could happen at a machinery or an equipment at an organization which is static. Those machinery will not move. Only some energy requirement is there in the form of some fossil fuels, or in the form of some coal, or in the form of some other form, and then we will use that. And then because of the usage of that energy to run the machinery and the equipment, what are the emissions that are coming out is the activity that we should record for the stationary combustion. And the second one is mobile combustion. So organization owned vehicular fleet. So it could be buses, cars, it could be two-wheelers, or it could be EVs, anything. So all these activities should be recorded in the mobile combustion. So mobile combustion is the emissions because of the vehicular fleet. And the third one is fugitive combustions. What do you mean by fugitive combustions? There are leakages that could happen because of the usage of refrigerants and fire extinguishers at any place. It could be at our household, or it could be in our organization, or it could be in a manufacturing setup, or also in a corporate. So I'll tell you one small example. So if we purchase some air conditioner. So air conditioner, we all are aware that air conditioner, for the compressing of the gas, to reduce the temperatures of the gas, we require some gas which is filled near to the outdoor unit. And maybe after 1 year, or maybe after 2 years, the technician, if the cooling is not enough in the room, what we do, we ask the technician to check the gas levels at this, and then we ask if the gas levels are reduced, then we ask the technician to refill the gas. And why and how we have to refill the gas there is to increase the operational efficiency, one, and those equipments, air coolers, will function properly only with the help of proper coolants, which is, in this way, it is refrigerants. And one more point I would like to mention here is the refrigerants and the air fire extinguishers are the most intensive GHG contributors to the environment. I'll tell you example also. How do we calculate the GHG emissions is the thing which we see in the upcoming slides, but I'll tell you one small example in a rough way, that if I want to calculate GHG emissions for the vehicles what I am operating for my business operations. So let us say I have a diesel car or a petrol car, and I run the petrol car for 20 kilometers in the morning and 20 kilometers in the evening, which demands some 2 liters of petrol, which is of a decent amount. So every day, 24 working days, and 24 working days multiplied by 2, which is my 48 liters of petrol for 1 month, and I multiplied this 48 with some, I would say I'm operating for 10 months. So multiplied by 10. So total of 480 liters of petrol is required for me to operate one car in one financial year. So what are the, how we calculate the emissions? So first thing is to identify the emission sources. My emission source is the car, and how it emits by consuming the petrol. And now my next job is to calculate, get the emission factor out of it. So what we do, we use the petrol and then we run the car, so that petrol combustion will lead so and so emissions into the atmosphere, and they have some unit for it. So what is the unit? Unit is something like 2.7 or 2.6 for petrol. So my 480 multiplied by some 2.6 gives me something like, let us say, some 1000 or 1500 kgs of CO2 equivalent. So that is my emissions because of my usage of car for one full year. But if I speak about the refrigerants, and if I calculate and if I collect the refrigerants leakage and how much refilling is happening because of my refrigerants or air fire extinguishers in my organization, 1 kg of refrigerant or fire extinguisher would be on an average equivalent to some 200-300 kgs of carbon dioxide equivalent, whereas 1 liter of petrol is equivalent to 2 or 3 liters of 2 or 3 kgs of CO2 equivalent. The intensity is that huge, and that is why it is very critical for us to do a understanding on the fugitive combustion. And last but not the least, the process combustions. Apart from the usage of the electricity or usage of the fuel and combustion of the fuel and then generating the electricity, producing or emitting the emissions into the atmosphere, there could be some chemical reactions which could happen, or there could be some unnoticed emissions. Let us say if I'm making some clinker, we all are aware that clinker production requires some 1800 to 2000 degrees Celsius temperature requirement, which so far it is been taken care by coal. So they'll have coal hills in their manufacturing plants. So they want to operate the coal hills. So they'll use some proclines or some machinery to get that. But imagine the amount of emissions which, if some sandstorm or some other anthropogenic human induced disaster happens there, what we do is, there could be a lot of air pollution which could happen at that process. There could be some chemical reactions which happens during the process which go unnoticed. So those kind of emissions will be taken care in the process emissions. So that's how we categorize the different emissions, so that while collecting and collating the data, it makes our job easy. And coming to the scope 2 emissions, as mentioned earlier, that scope 2 emissions are because of the indirect emissions, which is because of the purchased form of electricity or steam or any other forms of things. So just a moment. Coordinator sir, are we passing the time or?
Actually, we just passed a minute, sir. It's okay, sir.
Okay.
Please continue.
So I'll do one thing. Yeah. So, but anyways, we have another session also, sir. So I don't want to bother, the participants who are attending the session. I'll quickly wind up to the possible extent, maximum of maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and then we will, close the session, and it can be taken up in the upcoming session also, sir. I hope that's okay, sir.
Sir, no problem, sir. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So what do we do for GHG accounting? So initially we have to understand the organizational boundaries, and then we have to understand and collect the emission sources, and then select appropriate emission factors, then calculate the emissions and report the emissions into the public domain. This is the typical process. This is not a rocket science, but this is a process which we have to make sure that it is being done in terms of the frameworks and standards and the guidance which is being given by the ISO standards or the greenhouse gas protocol. And recently India has also launched the India's GHG program also. And what are the principles and complexities? I'll not bother you to by taking you through this, because it speaks about why, how, what could be the complexities in the principles, whereas in the complexities, we have to make sure the data which is being collected there is properly validated, and it should be to the point. It should not be so very irrelevant to our concept of emission accounting. So that's the most important thing. And coming to the main steps in GHG accounting, we will make sure that we have to set the organizational boundaries, and we have to set the operational boundaries, and we have to set the base years. So these are the three steps what we should be taking care while doing the emission accounting. So with this, I'll explain you about organizational boundaries, operational boundaries, and setting up the base years. So I hope everybody are aware of the base years, but setting the organizational boundaries and the operational boundaries is the critical thing here. It's a crucial thing here. So if there is one organization, I am not taking you through the previous concept which I have to explain. Maybe it may take some time, but anyways, if I am rushing things here, I'll make sure that this is being covering in the upcoming session also. So kindly bear with me for maybe 3-4 minutes maximum, so that we can wind up the session. So we have an organization which is of a name of X, where they have two branches. One is company A, which releases some 10,000 tons of emissions CO2 equivalent per year, and they have a branch B, which is of 5,000 tons of CO2 equivalent per year. So we have to understand a little about percentage of equity approach, financial control, and the operational control. So these are the three methods which we have to understand. Not three, I should say two. Only the equity and the control approach. Only two things. In control, we have two things: financial control and the operational control. So company A has 70% of equity, whereas company B has some 50% of equity share, and full, as I mentioned here, full financial and operational control for the company A, whereas full financial and no operational control in company B. Okay, so if this is the case, what could be the emissions that corporate X should account is the question. So with this, if 70% of equity share is there for a company, if corporate X is having 70% of equity share, then corporate X has to account for 7,000. So this equity share from company A to corporate X is 7,000, plus they also have a company B which is having 50% of equity share. So the 50% of equity share meaning 50% of emissions per year, which is 2,500. So total of 7,000 plus 2,500 gives you a digit of 9,500 emissions per year if you go ahead with the equity share. So this is also up to us which consolidation approach should be taken care of. It can be taken care by equity share, or it can be taken care by operational control approach, which could be financial control or operational control. So now let us speak about the financial control. Company A, corporate X has full financial control and full financial control on company A, and corporate X has full financial control on company B also. If you have full financial control, then you have to account for complete emissions here, which is 10,000 and which is 5,000 here. So 10,000 plus 5,000, it is 15,000 here for financial control approach. And now comes the operational control. So what do you mean by operational control? What do you mean by financial control? If you have direct influence on the finances of the organization, then you have to go with the financial control, and this is the terms, full or no. This could be same, full or no. And coming to operational control. Now operational control, corporate X has full operational control on company A, whereas no operational control on company B. So full operational control, then it's 100% of total emissions happening here, and no operational control meaning no emissions from this corporate B, which is resulting of 10,000 uh, 10,000 tons per year. So this is how, we have to take a consolidation approach for the organizations which is on company A, and with the consolidation approaches, whether it is equity or the control approach. This is a small example, so I'll stop here for today, and if anybody have any questions, I'll be happy to take. Okay, fertilizer usage comes under which scope? So this is actually a very good question. So the question is whether it is artificial fertilizer or a natural fertilizer would be the question, ma'am. So if it is a natural fertilizer, then natural fertilizer will not have any kind of emissions, and those emissions will generally go into the biogenic emissions. That is not been covered, that concept is not covered here. Whereas if you are going for a fertilizer usage which is artificial, and let us say I'm an organization and I have farming is my business, and if I'm using fertilizer is in my scope 1, so I should be accounting the fertilizer usage and the emissions around the fertilizer usage in my scope 1 only. So that's how we should be doing it. Yeah, it will be in scope 1 only, ma'am. It will not go for the biogenic emissions, no. I don't know if I missed any questions in the top. I am just going through. And if anybody have any questions, I mean, if you are allowed to unmute, please unmute and ask. If not, you can park your questions here. So there is a question on how AI improves sustainability in resource intensive industries. So let me put this question in a different way. Instead of resource intensive industries, I should put it the hard to abate sectors. So there are some good 7 to 8 hard to abate sectors which are given by the government of India, and they have specific guidances which is given by the governments and the ministry bodies to measure emissions around it, and how it can be automated is the question. So if it is a cement manufacturing industry, I'm sure the number of entries for scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3 would be some thousands. If it is a manufacturing setup, the number of raw materials which comes in and which goes out is extremely huge. With my experience, I have done a manufacturing client emission accounting scope 1, 2 and 3, and the data sheet for scope 3 purchased goods and services itself will have some good 70,000 entries in one single category. And imagine how we can do it manually, and I mean, it has taken a lot of time for us to execute it, but if we use AI into it, it can make wonders out of it. So that's how we use AI in the hard to abate sectors. So, yes, any other questions?
Sir.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Sir, which emission factor to take emission factor, which source is very authentic, like IPCC GHG protocol?
Yes, yes.
I'm
There are
using.
multiple. Yes, ma'am. Please complete. Then I'll answer.
But sir, ICC and GHG protocol is also mentioning for US, UK, developed country, and only very less emission factors are mentioned for developing countries.
Yes,
So in that case, how to take emission factor?
yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I'll tell you the emission factor sources first, and I'll also tell you which emission factor to consider so that it can make difference and get a fair understanding on this part. So, if we are doing a JJ accounting, there are emission factor sources which can be drawn from US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and we have emission factor source database from UK DEFRA, which is from the European Union, and we also have emission factors given by the GHG protocol, and we also have emission factors given by IPCC and other organizations also. So the question is, which emission factor should be considered would be the question. So when it comes to identifying the appropriate emission factor, you have to make sure the emission factor which is given by EPA or DEFRA, they'll give a small description about the activity data. Let us say petrol. Petrol, one database will have maybe average fuel blend emission factor, whereas the other emission factor database will have just petrol. So if you have the description, is it synthetic fuel or is it naturally derived fuel or is it from some other source? If you have any descriptions of the activity data or the fuel in it, then it makes sense for us to select the emission factor whether from EPA or from DEFRA. So that is one standard approach. And now the second approach, ma'am. So we have tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 emission factors, ma'am. So what is tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 emission factors? It is always advisable in terms of the standards and guidance that go ahead only with the tier 3 emission factors first, then tier 2 and tier 1. So now what is tier 1 emission factors? Tier 1 are global emission factors. It could be given by IPCC, JG protocol, something like that. Whereas tier 2 emission factors are region specific emission factors. So region specific emission factors, we just discussed about US EPA or UK DEFRA emission factors, which are restricted themselves to only the US country, United States, if not the European Union. So that is tier 2 emission factors. And India also has emission factors given by India GHG program and Central Energy Agency, CEA, where this CEA will provide you emission factors for the grid electricity every year. So if you go ahead with that kind of emission factors, those will be taken care. I mean, in the Central Electricity Authority, you will also find emission factors for each and every power grid which India has. So we have power grid in Karnataka and we have power grid in Telangana. So different power grids emission factors will also be available in that. But on the whole, on an weighted average method, they give you a standard emission factor which can be used throughout India. So we will go ahead with that. Now, what is tier 3 emission factor? If I am a cement manufacturing setup and I follow a process which is not there listed in the emission factors database, then there is guidance available in the GHG protocol that you can derive your own emission factor as per the operations what you are doing in your organization. So that is type 3 emission factor. So it is always advised to take with tier 3, if not tier 2, if not tier 1. That's how we should be taking ahead, ma'am.
Any specific methodology is given to calculate customized emission factor with tier 3?
It is there in the GHG protocol, ma'am. So maybe if you search GHG protocol, GHG protocol emission accounting or corporate emission accounting, you will find some document which is of some good 200-300 pages.
Yes.
And some guidance is also having, and in that guidance page, you will also find a section which is which gives you appropriate methodology step by step. You just follow it. It gives us the perfect emission factor as per the our thing.
And sir, what is the significance of measuring this equity share, financial control, and operational control? Because all three are showing different emissions. So, for which purpose all these three can be calculated?
Yes. So significance of different methods for finding emission factors. Sorry, for selecting the organizational boundaries. If I am some organization which has 100 different um, what do you say, sister companies with 10% investment in some organization, 20% in some organization, and 30% in something like we are varying in that way. If that is the case, well, the bigger corporate, the major company is going and putting those numbers in the public domain. So if I am putting that number in my sustainability report or in my BRSR or in my CDP, what I do is very initially I'll answer questions about my organizational boundary. I'll tell that only 30% of my investments is taken care of, so that I'll tell only 30% of my revenue which is going out to the organizations is taken care of. If not, I can also mention I am going ahead with my global investments. If not, I am going ahead only for my standalone company. If not, I am going ahead with the financial control of my all the investments what I'm doing. So there is a question. There are questions to answer that, and accordingly, your approach will get decided. So that's how it should be relevant and significant, ma'am. So maybe if we get some time in the upcoming session, ma'am, I'll definitely take you through those points also, and then it could be clarified in a much better way.
Sir, can you share your email address?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay, I have kept it in the. Are you guys still able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
I'll take you through the last slide. Yes, ma'am. If anybody has any questions, are you guys still able to see my screen?
No, sir.
No. Just
If possible, post on the chat box, sir. They can take
that would
copy.
be great. Yes, yes. Nithin at general-carbon.com. Yes. Yeah. I've posted my email ID in the chat box. Feel free to reach out, or the email. So there is a question about any better method for carbon sequestrations. Okay. How AI plays a major role to control it. So these are two different concepts, sir. So carbon sequestration is done. It's like you polluting in some other place, and you are making sure that you plant some trees, and then plants are plants are removing certain CO2 from the atmosphere, which is called sequestration. Okay, so this is a simple method that generally many corporates follow. And how AI plays major role to control or to understand the carbon sequestration is the question. So there are many remote sensing and GIS technologies which are there, which by the intensity of the green color of the plantations which we make, it gives a fair and high resolution imaging for us to get understanding on the size, height, and cross section area of the trees, etc., etc. So with that, there are certain, what do you say, methodologies and the process to calculate carbon sequestration, which could potentially happen from that trees. So with that, we use AI for the carbon sequestration calculations. Yes. So is there any software to calculate emissions? Ma'am, I should not say it's a software, but there are multiple tools available, and some tools are subscription based and some tools are freely downloadable, which is simple Excel based tools. So you can see the UNFCCC calculator, or you can see UK DEFRA calculator, where you simply download the things and you fill in the information wherever it is specified to fill in. You can get the emissions around that. But uh, small problem is those data sheets cannot be changed, and you will not get an appropriate perfect tool for all your operations, because every business is different in its own way. So maybe understand the concept from it, and then you try to formulate your own Excel sheet is the best way to do the calculations. Yes. And any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Right, all right. I'm muting them, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope I try to put in or throw some light on the concepts which we work generally. And I'm sure we have another session. I'll make sure, because that's the first session, and on a holiday for us. So it's like maybe we can dig in deeper on that day.
Yes, yes.
And
Yes, sir.
thank you each and everyone. And it's been a privilege for me to take a session in front of this many members. And thank you very much.
On behalf of Place Institute of Technology and Sciences Civil Engineering Department and the management and the participants, I thank you for your great presentation, sir. You have been so patient throughout the session, and thank you for taking ample amount of time to explain the concepts. We hope we'll be waiting for the next session also. And dear participants, on behalf of all of us, we thank Dr. Nithin Chirukuri for his presentation today. Thank you, sir. We'll be waiting for the next presentation.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine. Yes. Thank you very much.